A leader has to take the risks. Hey, Franco, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
All right, I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for coming on Wealth on the Beach podcast, man. Love having you. So where are you? What part of the world are you?
In Silicon Valley, so San Jose area.
Okay.
Where are you at?
I am in Newport Beach.
Oh, cool. How awesome.
So how long did you grow up in that area or?
Grew up in the Philippines, moved to like Sacramento, then Silicon Valley at around 17 years old. Yeah. So
And so what got you to go to that area, like, of the world? What was it, Silicon Valley, or like how did that happen? Was there family there, or do you have
yeah,
relatives there?
I can't actually say. I guess my parents just had a job that they took out this way, or my dad had a job that he took out this way before he left, and that's probably it. Yeah. How about you?
Well, no, I've been out in this area my whole life. Well, not in Newport Beach, but I came down to the beach. I was a little more inland. I don't know if you ever heard of San Dimas or Rancho Cucamonga. You ever heard of
Yes,
those
yes.
areas?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I actually graduated San Dimas High School, and then I ended up moving out to Rancho for about 20 years. So
Oh, that's so cool, man.
so so yeah, man, we're going to be talking about mobile homes and about how to scale and build some big passive income, man. I mean, is that kind of what you do, man?
Yeah. Well, our model is really more kind of like doing construction stuff around converting old mobile homes to new.
Okay.
So hopefully our media guy explained that. But yeah, I don't know that hopefully it wasn't expected to be like a tactical conversation about how this can help build passive income or something like that. Is
Okay.
that was that the thought?
Well, I mean, I've been, this podcast, we talk about everything. I mean, we do
Uh,
talk a lot about passive income because, of course, I have a lot of passive income, and that's been my story.
yeah.
But of course, man, we talk about everything. So don't worry about it, man. We're gonna have some fun, Franco, and we'll go from there, buddy. So, hey, tell me about the Philippines, man. How was that? What was it like growing up and living in the Philippines as a kid?
Yeah. Are we recording?
We are. Yeah,
Oh,
we're
we already
recording.
started.
We're rock and roll, man. That's the way this thing goes, man. We don't I just flow into it, man. This is a
Oh, shoot.
conversation, man. People
My
just
bad.
want to hear a conversation and have a little bit of fun, so it's all good.
Oh, got it. My bad. So, yeah, I guess like about the Philippines, I grew up. We were chatting before the show. My bad. But
That's the behind the scenes, man. I mean, everybody loves behind the scenes, right?
got it. My mess up. Anyway, so yeah, the Philippines. I grew up there as a kid. Pretty much my elementary school life was all there. Moved here when I was about 11 years old from the Philippines. I grew up in the Philippines in a fisherman town. It wasn't like a main metro area, but a very small, humble province area. And I remember it really well because I loved how happy everyone was. I loved how resourceful everyone was. And it's interesting, you kind of grow, even if you're like 7 or 8 years old, you have kids working and helping their family at storefronts and stuff like that. And you kind of grow this level of independence at a very young age, which was really fascinating. But yeah, and then moved over here to California, where my parents were. And then, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we moved to the Silicon Valley. And yeah, we're here now. So
Okay, so I mean, what were you like as a kid? I mean, were you a good kid, bad kid? What was your life like, man?
I think I was definitely like a bad kid most of the time. it,
Okay.
it
So
was
tell
interesting.
so tell me
I
some stories, man. Tell
like,
me about what it was like being a kid, running around in the streets of Philippines.
well, it was one thing that was shocking in the Philippines is like, you know, one thing actually no, I'd say as a kid in the Philippines, I was kind of a good kid, but and then in high school over here in California, I did good at grades and stuff like that, but I was always kind of a troublemaker. But in the Philippines, um, one interesting thing is like, one thing that I didn't understand is like, hey, why do I get to go to school? And why are some of my friends or some of the other kids in this area, why like they wish they could go to school, but they're out selling cigarettes on the street and stuff like that. And it was just, but it was just such an interesting life, which kind of made me grow appreciation for being in America. And I think sometimes when we're here, when this is what the life that we're always used to, we sometimes forget to appreciate some of the things we have, right? I always love going back. I'm actually going back to the Philippines next month, and it's always great kind of getting a new level of perspective, because you go there, everyone's so happy, so joyful, that sort of thing. And you go to their home and it's like they live in a tin shed, they have bad quality water and that sort of thing. But I'm like, why are you so happy? And then we go here, you have people with a roof over their head, all the government support that you can have, and people are stressed and depressed, right? But it's just all about perspective, and I think that's one thing I learned from living in both sides of the world. Um, but yeah, and then being a high schooler over here, it was interesting. I was always kind of a social guy, got along with everybody, got good grades, but I would get in trouble once in a while and that sort of thing. But yeah,
I
it
mean,
was.
but does it kind of make you feel like sometimes, like you look at America, right? And you look at these protesters outside and they're protesting this or they're protesting that, or they're mad at this, and they don't got their minimum wage is not enough, so they're pissed off at this, or the work, the unions, they rise up and they get pissed off at whatever it is that the company's not doing for them. They're not getting enough. Does it ever make you cringe a little bit to say, wait a minute, y'all are a bunch of babies, and y'all are a bunch of whiners and complainers, because at the end of the day, look at how these people are living in other countries, man. I mean, and they're rising up, they're putting on a good face, they're living a great life, they're resourceful, they're, I mean, working their ass off every day for so much less than we have. And there are people that burn the American flag, that hate America, that they just don't appreciate what they have. I mean, do you ever feel that way at all, or what's your
There,
thoughts on that?
yeah, there are some cases where I do feel that way. I think it's all kind of comes down to how someone grows up and how what they experience, right? And how their perspective is on life, and also what their perspective is on what they deserve. I think that's where there's a lot of mixed confusion. It's like, hey, should the government be the ones protecting us? Is it the government's role actually to be the decision maker of my income? And where do they, how do they perceive it? So I try not to get too involved with like politics stuff, but I think I do feel there is a level where government needs to protect, like, needs to create a world or an economic system that can allow growth and allow improvement. But also at the same point, I do feel there's a lot of people that maybe feel entitled, and they blame the world and they blame the government for where they're at. But there's always unique cases, and in the end, it kind of comes down to what your preference is, how you see the world, and what you do about it. And like you said, if there's some that maybe they aren't driven to succeed, and there's some that are, right? And how do we help those? For me, it's like, how do we help those that actually want to succeed, right? And not to blame others for not feeling that way at all.
Yeah, I do a coaching program every Wednesday morning, which was this morning at 9 a.m.
Oh, cool.
And I was telling them that, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we get to decide our fate. We, especially as entrepreneurs. I mean, all these people that are with me, they're all entrepreneurs, and they're all people that are poor, hungry, and driven. At least, the ones that are making a lot of money now, they were at some point poor, hungry, and driven. And I think that, the people that are not that way, those are the people that are going to be the workers in the world. Those are the people that have kind of been, I think one of the biggest scams in the world is the college education, because they want to charge you, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to get this piece of paper. And now, granted, some situations you obviously need a college degree because of, if you want to be a doctor or attorney or something like that, there's obvious, reasons why. But most people shouldn't be going to college, because they get up in the morning and they have a dream of wanting to build something or own their own business or create something. And that could all be taught by just living it and going out and doing it. Most people, they go to college for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and then they get out and they say, okay, I'm going to go build my own company. And they don't know how to sell. They don't know how to grind it. They think they're entitled because they have a piece of paper. They think that they're entitled to make a lot of money just because they have a college education. Well, the truth is the builders, the dreamers, the visionaries, these are the people that are ultimately going to make it long range. Now, again,
Yeah.
with a college education or no college education, you could still have those dreamers, but it's really the dreamers, the visionaries, the people that say, I'm willing to grind it until, I get to that destination. And I think there's no secrets anymore, man. We all, especially because of the internet, there's no secrets anymore. We all know what to do. It's just who's going to do it.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot that you said there, and that sparked a lot of thought in my life, and also it kind of ties into why I'm very passionate about mobile homes. So we talked about how I moved here in to California, to the Silicon Valley. There was this weird situation with my family. My dad was the main breadwinner. They divorced. He fled the country, whatever, and I was left at 17, 18 years old, having to pretty much support my single mom and my younger sister. And during that time, it was the hardest time of my life. I remember at the end of every single month having to work 2 jobs just to cover rent and to barely make ends meet. I even had to sell things I had and do stuff on the side just to be able to survive, right?
Wow.
And there was this different mind shift in my head when I was living and surviving under my dad. I can honestly say I felt entitled a bit. I felt like I was going to go to college. I was going to be able to do this and take my time with that. But then as soon as I realized that I'm responsible for 2 other people's lives, that's when I was like, shit, I don't know if I could cuss. I was like, shoot.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I have to make
Shit,
ends meet.
you can cuss all you want here on Wealth on the Beach
Well,
podcast. It's all good, man.
yeah,
We're this is a conversation, man. We're real people. We use real words. So, anyways, go ahead.
yeah. So basically, it was now a world where I have to do whatever it takes. I'm in survival mode. There's no excuses to be had. I need to make enough to feed my younger sister and my mom, and to house my younger sister and my mom. And going through that difficulty and seeing how difficult it is to just survive in an area. And even though I was hardworking as best as I could, morning to night, it wasn't enough to survive. And going through that, I had to be resourceful. I had to learn. I was in a situation where I was doing graphic design for a real estate company, and I asked for a raise. They said, we won't pay more for marketing, but we'll teach you how to sell. So I became an agent. I door knocked morning to night. I ended up doing really well at that.
Awesome.
And that kind of built up my financial stability. And I didn't go through college, like you mentioned, but I learned everything I needed to learn off of YouTube and podcasts and books, right? But it was just that resourcefulness of having to learn, and that need of having to learn is what educated me. But that being said, after I was finally financially stable, I realized, like, hey, I don't really love this real estate thing. I actually kind of hate it, because it's kind of a system where, we're trained to help the wealthiest people we can help get the most expensive homes that they can, so that the wealthy can get wealthier. And unfortunately, the biggest part that I hated was having to tell people that were in my shoes back then and say, hey, I'm sorry, you don't make enough money. You don't have enough saved as a down payment. I can't help you, but if you make more or save more, I can help you later. And the truth of it, the truth of the world is that, hey, there's so many people trying to help the rich and wealthy, like fighting to help the rich and wealthy, and there's not enough people helping those that really want to work to make it, just to go from 0 to 1, from survival mode into just financially stable. So I dedicated my life trying to figure out, how do I help people that were in my shoes back then be able to go from that rat race into a better condition, so that these good people can help more good people. And I looked into working for the government for affordable housing. I didn't really love all the programs out there that we're going through, and I realized
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
shoot, I accidentally came across mobile home parks, and what I thought were mobile home parks were like trailer trash, that sort of thing. It came to shock me that these were actually great places and with great people, and it was a perfect place for people to start their wealth building journey. And through in a weird way, it's like you can use this capitalistic approach with a lower barrier of entry, to be able to own a mobile home, to get yourself out of that rental rat race, build yourself up from there. 4 years later, you have an asset you can sell and buy real estate later. So we built a business around guiding people to get out of renting into mobile home ownership, and then into real estate. And now today we're converting what people think is old trailers. We're turning 800 square foot mobile homes into 1,800 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, beautiful luxury homes that are 12-foot high ceilings and pushing the limits of what's possible. So that's where we're at today, and that's why I'm
So,
so passionate about it.
how does that work? I mean, so where do you meet these people, and what's the, is there any barriers to entry? What do they get when they're working with somebody like you?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing I want to say is, first, the big housing problem, right? Because we touched a little bit on that, but basically in our area, I'll talk a bit, but I know in most of the country it's different. But average rent for a 2-bedroom apartment's about $3,500 a month. An average single family home, if they wanted to purchase, is about $1.5 million. There's a huge gap from, how do you ever dream of owning a home when you're paying such a high amount for rent? How can you save up to buy a single family home where all the benefits are there, the home ownership, the appreciation, the tax benefits, being able to leverage a loan to build up your net worth? That's not accessible. There's a huge wealth gap there. And the beautiful thing about mobile homes is, it's a great middle point, because if I wanted to buy real estate at 10% down, that's $150,000 you'd have to put down, and your mortgage or your monthly payment jump is going to go to like $7,000-8,000, right? That's a huge step that people aren't able to take, because it's a big thing to accomplish. Now, if we talk a mobile home in that same zip code, average price point's about 300,000. 10% down is about $30,000. The space rent's about $1,000. Their mortgage is about $2,700. So they're paying about $3,700 a month, just a little bit more than if they were renting, except they're leveraging a loan to build up their net worth. They're able to get those tax benefits, the appreciation. They get to leverage a loan to buy something that they get to call their own, and that they get to sell later down the line. So the key thing here is that it's a stepping stone to get out of that rental cash flow model where everything goes away, lowering that and making it a better cash flow model, so that your family can feel more financially secure. And that allows, that extra step in between allows for people to grow, right? And the thing that I'm hating and that I'm seeing in this world today is that it's getting harder and harder for regular low income families to be able to have that equal opportunity to own housing. And that's why we love mobile homes, and that's why it's a perfect stepping stone for people to get out. And we start in this very expensive area, but we also do it in other metro areas now too, in LA, San Diego. We do consulting for like people in Texas, Arizona. These numbers are very high for some people that are listening, but the ratios are kind of the same.
So pretty much what you're saying is, you guys, what you're going to do is you're going to go into these nicer areas or maybe mobile home parks, and you're going to convert them. So that's basically your business now, is you're converting. So you're buying the property, you're converting them, and then you're selling them at a higher price. Is that kind of what you're doing right now?
It's similar. We don't ever take ownership of the units themselves.
Oh, you
So
don't? Okay.
so
Okay.
we pretty much guide people to get out of the renting into these homes, and then we convert it for them. So
Okay.
pretty much they
So
take
so you're the contractor then. You're the contractor to rebuild these
yeah.
mobile
So in
homes.
simplicity, we're kind of a broker model at first. So we help people transact and purchase and sell. And then also we help redevelop their old mobile home into a new one as well. So how do we maximize the value of their asset? Hey, they might own a mobile home that's worth 100,000 right now, but if you spend 250,000 in doubling the square footage of your home, guess what? The new appraised value of your home is now 400,000. Right. And it's a lot of these wealth building techniques that are very common to a lot of the wealthy that aren't accessible to families of low income, and we're bringing that same kind of mentality around mobile homes and something that's more affordable.
So how do you navigate like the whole stigma behind mobile home, right? Because somebody hears mobile home, they're instantly, their eyes glaze over. It's not something that they want to do. How
Yeah.
do you get somebody past that feeling of it's a mobile home park?
Yeah. And that's what I realized at the early part of our business. And I realized it from my own perspective as well. It's like, we got to realize that most of what people see about most of what people think about mobile homes is only what they see in TV shows and movies and music videos. They see it as horrible quality homes for drug dealers, criminals, and that sort of thing, because that's all we get to see as a picture about mobile homes, right? But the truth of it is, you go into the communities and you realize that this isn't, how do I say this? So if you imagine apartment complexes, hey, we all understand apartments. There's some apartment buildings where you don't want your kids running around. It's not safe, but there's luxury style apartments, right? Where it's like a resort and it's beautiful. And it's that same spectrum with mobile homes. There are bad, trashy parks, but there's a full spectrum, and there's resort-like communities as well. There's mobile home parks with tennis courts, with swimming pools, gyms, saunas, spas, right? And they all shouldn't be written off as one complete bad asset class. And that's really our agenda, is to try to show people that this is a beautiful thing. We work a lot with the government of how do we beautify this to show the world that this is a perfect thing for society, that we have to protect and we have to we have to support. But main thing is all perspective, and it's all how we see things. And, I guess the first thing is, when we realize that, our only way to prove that is through video, because guess what? All these stigmas, we're not, we could talk about it on the podcast all day, but until we actually see it, we're not going to believe it. So that's why our YouTube channel really kicked off with community tours, with home tours, with how these homes are built in factories. How they're built in factories is such a beautiful thing right now too, and it's really going to shape the world of housing in the near future. And it's really
And
only in the past few years that mobile home building and mobile homes have really been a huge attention piece for real estate.
and you're really attracting a lot of millennials. You talk a lot about millennials, and so this is kind of a guide for millennials. And is this what you see as the future? I mean, do you see the future of America becoming, a place where we're going to see more and more mobile home parks, or maybe, more established, more luxurious mobile home parks in the future? Is that what you
Yeah.
see?
So what's fascinating about this is that there's we don't really realize how many mobile home communities there are in our country. It's already existing infrastructure that's already there. In Newport Beach, there's communities there. We built a home in Malibu, and all throughout the country, there's mobile home parks, so many parks that were built in the 70s. that's already there. Now it's already existing inventory, which allows for us to build it much better. And it was only in the last few years that entities are starting to use mobile home parks, build and open mobile home parks to fast build housing in many of these fast growing areas. And I want to say this problem that we're having in construction as well. Construction is of building new housing has been built how it's been built in the past 100 years the same, right? We go on site, we build construction. It's getting more and more difficult to find skilled labor. Material costs are getting more expensive. Permitting is getting more and more difficult. And and if you think about cars were only built for the rich and wealthy before, and it was only until we built them on an assembly line in a streamlined fashion that we got cars available for everybody. And that's exactly what we're doing right now with mobile homes. We're building these homes in a factory, in a streamlined assembly line, and we're maximizing the output of all the skilled labor using machines, using tools to be able to build these homes at a very quality level. And in the end, we have a very high quality, affordable home that a low income family can afford. And that's how we have to change housing. For some weird reason, we still are doing it the old fashioned way, having trucks drive the labor all the way to a different location, tons of material waste. We have to change how that's done, or we have to have much better options on how we're going to build housing if we want to protect that.
And so, I mean, when you're talking about technology, I mean, this is like, I mean, obviously technology is, you know, we're growing into the tech age of the world. I mean, is this really changing the game? I mean, for the future?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the production of how we're able to build homes, you know, for me, if I wanted to build, and I've done this, is building a single family home could take about 18 months on an average. We just did a conversion and broke our record of a conversion of an old mobile home to a new one. And we broke our record and completed from start to finish in 2.5 months. We built a completely 1,800 square foot home, very high quality, and it's ready to move in, you know, in 2.5 months, where a single family home, the same exact square footage, would take 18 months with much higher cost. So, you know, that's how we're currently going to be, you know, it is one solution that's very underrated, if you ask me.
And like zoning laws, I mean, permitting, things like that. Is it kind of the same with mobile homes with versus traditional, or is it different? And how is the government, you were saying something about the government is kind of helping you, or is this like, is there initiatives or are there programs right now that the government is helping this process move forward? They believe in it too. Hit on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So a lot of the government support and lobbying is really gearing towards this lately. But the main thing is so there's a few questions you asked on the permitting and that sort of thing, right? So we do a lot of private property as well. On that, the permitting and stuff has always been very difficult, but it's starting to become easier because it's more understood. But the key thing is why I love the entities inside these mobile home parks is that because it's actually not tied to the land, there's less permitting that's involved. So with that, part of why it takes me 18 months to build a whole home is because the government wants to be very involved, because it's permanent foundation. They want to see everything, every little thing at every step of the phase. And sometimes we're paying $7,000 just for a piece of paper to get approved, right? And a lot of these steps for government permits are just causing a slowdown for how we build housing. But if we talk about mobile home parks in these communities, there's much less regulation of how these are built, and which allows for us to be able to build more affordable housing at a faster rate and quality housing in very expensive areas.
So I'm just curious about so you got a crazy hairstyle. Where did that come from? Have you always had different color hair? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I did it one day out of nowhere, and it kind of just stuck. But I don't know. It's interesting how people recognize people, and it just stood out for people, and people are like, "Hey, mobile home, who's that dark guy with blonde hair?" Right?
So you got yourself a little brand with the hair and the color and all that good stuff. And so, I mean, you do a lot of social media right now. You do a lot of YouTube. You're on Instagram. I mean, why do you feel that social, or how is social media playing a part in your journey?
Yeah, so I've always been actually growing up, I've always wanted to be a videographer, a wedding video guy or something like that. And I've always loved video, but I think it comes down to how is the future generations going to be taking in information, right? You know, it's interesting how video is the most important aspect of how new generations are taking in info, right? Like I said earlier, we can talk about it, but until you see it in real life, it's hard to believe. And that's why, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen what a mobile home looks like, and you're probably like, what is this guy talking about? Mobile homes, blah, blah, blah. Right? Actually see for yourself the quality of the homes that we build. They honestly, I can say that these are built much nicer than a lot of the new construction that are being built today. And it looks like $1 million homes, right? Without having to pay that $1 million price. And that's been a huge thing for us is yes, fighting that stigma and helping people understand, and not just on the visual and the homes themselves, but on video. We want to teach people, okay, what is it that the wealthy know that the low income families don't, and how can we bring that level of education and explain that visually as well? Because when I was broke and poor, there's so much that I wish I knew later down the line, right? But there's not just a wealth gap, but there's an education and an information gap as well. What's common to a lot of the rich and wealthy, what's common sense to them isn't actually common sense to me when I was broke. So how do we bring that education out? And it's through video and YouTube and explaining these in numbers in a visual way too.
Yeah, I see that you are that guy that just for some reason, you've made it, right? You've built some wealth for yourself and you've created a company. And so I think it's maybe, is it from the childhood or whatever, seeing those, poor kids on the street and things like that. Like there's something inside of you that really wants to make a difference. And I relate to you because I built a financial services company. We have 1,500 agents, 55 locations, built a lot of, helped a lot of people from nothing create their own companies, their own businesses, their own wealth, and I've been able to be a part of that. And I don't know, maybe me too. I felt like I wanted to make a difference in my life. I love making money. I've been huge, highly blessed and favored to have a lot of passive income, a lot of freedom and choices and options. But it's interesting how I'm still doing this stuff. I'm still coaching people. I'm still doing a podcast. I'm still doing social media. I'm still, trying to guide people on how they too can have the American dream, how they
Yeah.
can prosper and win and do something big with their lives. So I relate a lot to what you're talking to, and I'm just talking about, and I'm just curious: is does that make sense to you? I mean, did this come from
Oh,
your
totally.
childhood, you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I talk about, I really reflect back a lot. Even though these times were the hardest times of my life, during that phase where my dad left, you know, I was super depressed. Thought about suicide at certain points and that sort of thing. It was a very, very dark part of my life. But the key thing that I'm really grateful that I went through that is that really, knowing that I went through that, I know now that there are families out there that are going through that same pain right now. And for me, after I became financially secure, I don't think money really matters anymore, and impact matters way more. And knowing that I can help us, I still tear up today when I see a family that felt like that nobody's been able to help them, and we were able to get them to have their first home that they got to own, and they're so joyful. I still tear up today. And to me, that is the best compensation I can ever have over any dollar amount. Seeing a family be able to feel financially secure. And ever since I've felt that feeling, I've gotten addicted to it. And I want to help hundreds of families. And we want to teach more people to be able to do that. Right. And I think, yes, there's a lot of content out there where people want to chase that dollar and make X amount a month and that sort of thing. But I think there's also a lot of people out there that are really just trying to chase making a difference and creating an impact and feeling like they're improving other people's lives. And I think for me, that's the most important thing. I don't, and that's why our initiative is more about helping as many families as we can versus making anything or making a profit. And that's never really our full focus, and I think there's other business owners or people out there that you know might might be chasing the dollar amount, but in the end you're going to be working very hard and long hours. And for me, that drive is more, I'm way more driven when I know I'm helping a family versus if I'm going to make a check for myself. Right. And I think I wish I don't know how I could put it to words, but I hope that more people can get that energy into helping others versus trying to make money just trying to make money for themselves.
Well, look,
Yeah,
either way, I mean, the truth is, Franco, either way, it's good. And
exactly.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I say that is because like if you look at that, because a lot of I think our world right now is got a big, they think that the rich people are bad, right? That, you're a rich guy, you're bad, you're stealing from people, you're trying to make a profit, you're trying to, just, hurt people and take away their money and all this. But the truth is the rich guy, even the greedy rich guy, he probably built something at some point to get rich. So if he built something, he had to hire people. He had to employ people. He had to give benefits to people. He had to, do so. He had to pay a lot of taxes that, again, fed people and built roads and did all these dang things. So even the greedy rich guy has helped people in his life. Now, on the flip side, you have somebody like maybe me or you that we were blessed to build something. We have financial freedom. So now we say, okay, we want to spend the rest of our days trying to lift people up, man. Try to pull them, grab them down there. Come on, man. Let's go. Let me and you, let's go. Let's figure it out. Come on, me and you, we can make this happen. And so either way, we're going to help people. The greedy rich bastard is going to help people too. And but at the end of the day, we all get a choice. We all get to decide which which area we want to play in, and what we want to do with our life. And that's the beauty, in my opinion. That's the beauty of America, is that we get to choose. We get to decide how we do. We want to build something big. Do we want to live an average and ordinary life, or do we want to do something big? So hopefully, as people are listening and watching right now, hopefully they're thinking, well, why not me? Why can't I have great things? Why can't I do something big with my life? And find something, find somebody, find a coach, find a mentor, find somebody that can help bring you up or help you along. How are people getting coached by you, and how do they get a hold of you, and how can how can we connect with you, man?
Yeah, and I love what you said. I All of our stuff are at our link, www.franco.tv, or you could Google us at Franco Mobile Homes. All of our YouTube channels are there. You can see our 3D tours of our homes. You can see how these factories are building housing at a very high quality level. But yeah, I think if you haven't seen what this type of housing looks like, definitely look for yourself, and don't just believe what you see on TV and media. So Yeah.
Well, man, we really appreciate you coming on with this today. I mean, is there anything you want to kind of, just as we close this out, anything else you want to, drive home as far as your ideas and what you believe in, and how you see this future?
I'd say one is understand how real estate can help you build wealth, and understand your finances. Take the time to kind of learn how your personal family's cash flow works. And so for so many people out there, how home ownership is the real first step, not just career, not just college and make a salary, right? You should understand what investment opportunities you have, like you mentioned, or maybe start a business. But home ownership is a key one that you should consider. And we have to protect ways of how do we allow home ownership and protect access for many families out there. So I guess that would be all from me.
Awesome, man. Well, you're a stud, man. You're a total winner. I love hanging out with studs and winners, and I can tell you're a really good guy. And I'm going to check out all your stuff on YouTube. If people are watching right now, do me a huge favor and check him out. Go see him. Go see his Instagram. Go watch the YouTube videos, and really educate about different opportunities, different possibilities for you to dramatically change your life. Um, in my opinion, I think a lot of people are very down on America right now. I think people are down on the economy and jobs and all these things. Look, I think there's never been a better time to become wealthy in America. And there's so many opportunities, there's so many coaches, there's so many people that will teach you, train you, coach you, mentor you. Like I said, I have a Wealth on the Beach Club every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. People DM me all the time and get hooked up with that. But I believe that this is your chance, your time to shine in your life, and I hope you take advantage of it. As always, make sure that you continue to dream bigger, get after it, but most importantly, do it now. God bless. We'll see you